Things got even messier on the second day of Cassie's hearing. She dropped bombshell after bombshell, giving frightening details about what happened during those freaky events. But what really shocked everyone in the courtroom was what some are calling Diddy's possible troll move in the middle of her statement. Since Cassie's claims were so crazy, it's not hard to think that Diddy might have been trying to make fun of her in a sneaky way. This video breaks down exactly what Cassie said that might have caused the response, and why that moment is still being talked about. Everything you need to know about Diddy's crazy freak-offs is in Cassie's explosive statement. We are now in the second week of this very public case, and all eyes are on Cassie Ventura, who used to be married to Diddy and is now a key witness for the prosecution. The whole courtroom was shocked when she talked about their long-term relationship and those famous freak-offs that everyone has been talking about. Cassie took the stand as the main witness for the government. Some people who don't like her say she messed up with her statement, but that's not true. The government is building their case piece by piece, like in chess, to show a pattern of claimed abuse and control. Now, a lot of people think Cassie messed up yesterday when she testified, but I don't agree at all. It was smart of Cassie to break it down from jump. She drew this music mogul who was 17 years older than her as a young artist just trying to make it in the business. She told the judge about their first date and how they kissed on her 21st birthday. She said she wasn't even feeling the kiss because she was so confused and upset that she was crying a lot as she tried to figure out what was going on. Cassie went on the stand and talked about everything, from the first day they met to the time they spent together, including the time they kissed for the first time on her 21st birthday. She told him she didn't want to kiss him too. She felt like she didn't know how to feel. It made her feel lost. She was young. She had a sob. They were together for about 10 to 11 years. Also, Cassie said she was caught in Diddy's strong power. She thought that he was going to help her singing career take off, but instead she got lost in his shadow, and his bigger-than-life personality took over her whole being. It was early on that she set the stage for the power dynamic of this big mogul who was meant to help me with my music. He had such a big life that she couldn't help falling in love with him, and things got bigger than she was. There was a 17-year age gap. That's right. Yes. And that was the story. But what really shocked everyone was when Cassie started talking about those well-known freaks. These crazy sexual encounters that are said to have happened while they were dating. It wasn't just a bunch of random hookups. Cassie says that these events were carefully planned and that Diddy was in charge of everything. She said that Diddy had full control over these freaks and that he controlled them like he was making a music video or an album. The whole jury was on the edge of their seats as she spoke. She gave so much information. They talked to her about the freak-offs, and she said that Diddy was in charge of them. Yeah, she says that, and he would agree. It was a very well-planned dance. Almost as she talked about it, I thought, that sounds like he's filming a music video. Managing the production. No, really. It took a lot of work to get ready for these freak-offs. Cassie said that she told the judge that they set the mood with certain candles, like Glade or other brands, because Diddy wanted the room to smell a certain way. This level of care to detail says a lot about how planned these events are said to have been. You know what she means when she says that they would have certain things. So they would use candles for lighting and always use Glade or another brand. She stated because she wanted it to smell a certain way. What really upset me about Cassie's statement was when she talked about why they needed extra sheets for these meetings. People on the street thought it was because of something bad. But Cassie put an end to that rumor. The extra sheets were needed because she was supposedly made to do these weird things while she was on her period, which would have left blood on the sheets. It was very clear that she wasn't trying to be mean, but she says Diddy wasn't trying. To hear it. After that, she says that they will get extra linens. We already knew this because we had heard that there were extra linens because there was dough on the beds. According to what she said, she was forced to have freak-offs during her period, which is why there was blood on many of the sheets. She said she didn't want to do that, but she was supposedly forced to. Cassie also said that after these wild nights, there would be pee on the sheets. A fact that has become one of the most talked about parts of the case. We'll talk more about those claims in a moment, so stay tuned. Cassie also said something crazy about how much baby oil was used during these encounters. She said that Diddy was crazy about everyone being oiled up and compared it to the shiny clothes he used to wear in the 1990s. She said they had to put it on again every few minutes to keep it looking shiny. She said that every time they would get so oily. It said that that was a big deal for Puff. Someone had to oil you, and they did it every 5 minutes because he wants you to look like a suit. Yes, because it shines. And I think that's because baby oil is on it. He wants you to shine like the clothes he wore back in the 1990s. When Cassie was asked directly about the urination claims, the evidence got even worse. The prosecution brought up their opening statement, in which they said that Cassie was forced to pee on by a male escort. When asked for more details, Cassie said she was choked during the act and gave an explanation for why she didn't stop. They asked Cassie why she didn't just leave or tell them to stop before the defense could answer. She said that she would often lie down with her hands up during these times because she couldn't feel what was going on. She told the judge that these things would not only be done by the women but also by Diddy himself. She said that Diddy would sometimes tell the girls to calm down when things got too crazy. Not only would the prostitutes do it, she said, but Puff was also said to be interested. She said that when it got too much for her, he or Puff would sometimes tell the escorts, "Yo, all right, let's stop. Let's chill." When they asked her why she didn't just tell them to stop, Cassie played it cool. She talked about being high on whatever they were high on while lying on the floor and feeling helpless with 2 grown guys standing over her. She felt helpless and like she had to just deal with what was happening when she was that weak. "I mean, I'm lying on the floor. I'm supposedly drunk on all of these things, and there are 2 men standing over me," she said. "I just laid there with pee and thought, what am I going to do? Okay, fine." So, they asked that question because they know that's what the defense will do. When Cassie was on the stand, it was interesting to see how she kept her cool. Even though she was making serious accusations, she rarely showed any emotion. This calmness might actually help her case with the jury because it makes her seem like she is just telling them the facts and not being too emotional. This is how mail service changes things. As day 2 of Diddy's trial began, an unexpected plot hole appeared in the prosecution's case when a male escort took the stand and began telling a very different story than what the prosecutors had been pushing. This witness's statement has changed the whole case in a way that could have a big effect on how the jury looks at all the evidence. During the hearings, the male escort's name was kept secret, but he was very clear about his relationship with both Diddy and Cassie. People in the courtroom said he was a black guy about 57 years old with a muscular build who had slept with the couple more than once over a period of years. Is it true that the escort goes to court? Black man who drives. He is, in fact, black. He's most likely about 5'7". Oh, really big, like muscled. It was clear when he walked in, I thought, oh, he must be a dancer or something. The escort said he got the call from his boss, who told him about a bachelorette party job for a couple who wanted to entertain the wife. It looks like this whole thing was just a front to get him into a string of hookups with Diddy and Cassie that would last for years. He met them through his boss. One day, his boss told him, "Look, I have this couple who wants to do something for the wife." They didn't have a guy stripper for the bachelorette party. He then showed up in an NYPD t-shirt and said, "Cassie says Cassie opens the door." Based on what the escort said, when he got there, he saw Cassie wearing red underwear, a wig, and dark sunglasses. What he thought was going to be a normal gig paying $200 turned into a $4,000 deal with a totally different vibe than what he was told. She has on red underwear. She has on a wig, dark glasses, and shoes. To which he replied, "Listen, your boss told me I needed to give you $200 for this." She gives him $4,000 instead. His statement says that Cassie then broke it down. However, she and Diddy were not married, and he wanted to do something special for her birthday. She is said to have told the guide that they were going to rub baby oil on each other and that what happened next would depend on how everyone felt. "This is not a bachelorette party," he said. "My husband likes to do special things for me. He wanted to do this for my birthday. He just wants us to rub baby oil on each other." The escort said he was stunned by Cassie's beauty and couldn't believe he was in that situation. Based on his response, it looks like he might be telling the truth about how surprised he was by the arrangement. This could give his testimony more weight. When he walked in, he said, "Okay." He really did say that Cassie was one of the most beautiful women he had ever seen. He was shocked that things were going so badly. The guard told the judge that Diddy was in the room when he walked in, but he was trying to stay low-key by sitting in the corner with a bandana over his face and a hat on. Even though the guide tried to hide his identity, he said he could recognize Diddy's voice right away when he spoke, saying that he had heard it his whole life. So he walks in and says that Puff was sitting in the room, but you couldn't tell it was him because he was wearing a hat and a cloth around his face. "Oh, okay," he says, but he did say the minute that Diddy opened his mouth to say something. That's it. I have no idea what he said. He told him he worked in imports and exports, so it was probably just an introduction. This is what he said. "I immediately caught the voice." They asked, "How did you catch the voice?" "It seems like I've been listening to this guy for most of my life." The escort then talked about how things went off, and he and Cassie got into it on the couch, while Diddy apparently stayed in his corner to take care of business and tell them what to do. What one person in the courtroom saw as executive producing the whole scene. He said they got into a fight. He says they put the oils on each other and rubbed together. He and Cassie reportedly had sex on the couch in that hotel, while Puff sat in the corner and produced the whole thing. There was also other lubricant there. The guard said that Diddy never physically joined in during the first meeting, which is very important. He said that Cassie had told him ahead of time that Diddy wasn't available at that time and wouldn't touch him, but that Diddy might have had some say in what happened. He also made it clear that Cassie told him, "Don't worry about it. My husband is not gay. He's not going to touch you. He's not going to do anything. He's just going to tell us what to do or something. It's just going to be us doing the physical things." The escort said that this first meeting led to many more over the years, with bags running from $4,000 to $6,000. He also said that he wasn't always paid. He said that he kept coming, even though he wasn't sure he would get bread, because he liked the way of life. The prosecution's whole story about coercion and exploitation could be thrown into doubt by this remark. He said that after that, they connected a lot more times. Based on what they wanted to give him, his payouts ranged from about $6,000 to $5,000 or $4,000. He said that there were times when he would show up and not get paid, but he did it anyway because he liked the way of life. There were, however, some troubling things in the escort's evidence that might actually help the prosecution's case. He said that he saw Diddy touch Cassie while he was visiting her in her crib. His story goes that he was waiting in the living room during one visit while Cassie and Diddy were in another room. After Cassie didn't come back for too long, the guard said Diddy went outside and hit her up. But he did say that there were two things. He once said he couldn't be mean anymore because he saw him go to Cassie's house. They felt good around him. He went to Cassie's house. Cassie and Diddy were in the room with him. He was outside in the living room. Diddy comes out and yells at Cassie. She supposedly gets beat up badly because she took so long to come back into the room with him. The escort was reportedly so traumatized by the alleged violent event that he couldn't even act sexually with them afterward, which suggests that it really shook him. He said that this was the first time he had seen them fight, which could support other claims of abuse. After seeing that, he said it was the first time he had ever seen her get touched. Even having sexual relations with them was out of the question. When the escort talked about one of the most shocking claims in the case, that the woman urinated during a sexual encounter, it was the biggest surprise in the witness's evidence. The whole courtroom gasped. The different statements made by the witnesses are very important to the case as a whole, because they directly relate to the consent problem that is at the heart of the charges against Diddy. As long as the escort story is true, it means Cassie had some control over these sexual activities, which makes it harder for the prosecution to say she was totally forced to do them. People's feelings got even worse when they saw that Cassie's current husband, Alex Fine, was in the courtroom. People were looking at each other funny, as if they were wondering if he was hearing all of these crazy details for the first time. If so, the ride home would be very tense. The defense team works hard. As shocking new information comes out in Diddy's trial, his defense team is on top of their game, using contradictions and evidence to try to paint a different picture than what the prosecution has shown. Even the judge is having a hard time keeping a straight face after the latest bombshells. The details are getting more clear and contradictory. The defense has a clear plan. They're not saying that Diddy and Cassie's relationship was bad or that they fought physically. Instead, they are questioning how the prosecution is putting these events in the context of a bigger pattern of abuse, trafficking, and coercion. DJ Academics, who has been watching the case very closely, says that the defense team is using witnesses' inconsistent statements to make it look like what happened was voluntary, even if it was very badly done. Do you believe he will win? Okay, so winning the case isn't always guilty. Without a doubt not. I believe that he will be found guilty somewhere, but I don't believe that the top counts will matter or count right now. No way. The RICO would be the highest count. Making the difference between the charges is a key part of the defense's strategy. Even though domestic abuse and unhealthy relationships are scary, they aren't always the same as sex trafficking or racketeering. The worst charges also come with the harshest punishments. Yeah, because the highest sentence for the prostitution charge is 10 years, but there is no minimum sentence. It could last a year or two. That's it. Because it's not that important. That's it. The defense says that Diddy and Cassie were just swingers who hired paid sex workers from time to time. Maybe troubling, but not criminal in the way the prosecutor says it is. She doesn't mind when he does something, so she fires back. The end. It's already set up that way. Yes. Say hello to the swingingers. We were sometimes out of town. We didn't see any other pairs. It was just a flight with some hookers. The male escort's evidence that Cassie asked to urinate instead of being forced to is a big win for the defense because it directly refutes a key accusation of coercion. Brian. Steele's aggressive style of cross-examination has been very good at tearing apart parts of witness evidence by pointing out problems. Let me tell you something. We've written a lot about Brian Steele here, but I've never seen him do it so easily. I've never seen anything like this before. And he goes up to them and says, "Okay, so you're now an LAPD officer." They use that a lot because they want you to think this man is honest. There are supposedly videos of the fakes, which is the most explosive part of the defense plan. The defense says these videos show Cassie freely taking part, which goes against what she said in court about being forced to do it. Because of this, things are tense because the prosecution is trying to limit the parts of these videos that can be shown to the jury. They have this new phrase that means financially, which means they're forcing you to pay money. Because you depend on this guy for your financial future, you do these things. That's the main thing we want to see. Even with these strategic benefits, the defense still has a lot of work to do. The surveillance tape that shows Diddy hitting Cassie is still strong evidence that is hard to explain away. Diddy's public apology for what happened also makes their story more complicated. They can't say or do anything that will make what people saw in that tape seem less important. I understand that they want to keep a different story going, but that movie is something that you will never forget. Yes, you won't forget that video, I promise. He is a mean person. This is what they mean, though. The video didn't happen because of a bad freak-off. They say that the video was made because of a fight. I don't think the juries will be able to separate no matter what happened. As the hearing goes on, it will be very important how the judge runs the courtroom. Because the testimony is so explicit, there have already been awkward times with reactions that the jury can see. They are watching not only the witnesses, but also how everyone reacts. Legal experts say that a split decision is the most likely result. Not guilty of the most serious charges, but guilty of some less serious ones. Because the evidence is complicated and it's hard to prove the specific legal aspects needed for sex trafficking and racketeering convictions. Remember that? You could still make a deal like the one you saw with Young Thug even after the hearing started. Yes. You could do it, sure. There you have it. That was a bad position for the state. That's why I think the government needs to lock in. It will be all or nothing there. It would be embarrassing if you beat us up if you don't agree to this pre-trial plea. We will either go for a straight sentence and jail time, or you will beat us up. As more witnesses take the stand and more proof is shown, it will be very important for the judge to keep things under control while still letting both sides make their case. As more and more explicit details come out every day, it's clear that even the most experienced judge is finding it hard to hide his shock as this sordid story plays out in his courtroom. Thanks for seeing it. If you like this video, click on one of the boxes that is playing on your screen to see more like it. Gene Deal, who used to be Diddy's bodyguard, says that when he was free, he did crazy initiation rites. They would drink, party, and have fun on the third day, and the guys would have with each other. The court documents for Lil Rod show that Diddy is part of a gang with executives from Universal Music Group and other friends. This gang reportedly lets Diddy date and kill famous people like Usher, Bieber, and Biggie. But now that he's in prison, the same prison where Epstein died, these initiation rites that he used to trick people and get them to do dangerous things have become much darker. Here is what really happened in the jail called Hell on Earth. The House of Terrors and Rituals of Diddy. Unfortunately, the fall of rapper and music artist P. There are a lot of little dirty lies dancing around with Diddy out in the open. One of the most horrifying secrets is that his gang's initiation rite includes honoring certain spirits at midnight during the full moon and letting the new members do nothing but sexual things all night. In 1212 at 12 p.m., people who believed in the cult looked for that moon, 12 a.m. At that time, they were performing religious ceremonies. Who is this guy? And how does he know this? This is Gene Deal, who used to be a famous bodyguard and did a lot of work for Bad Boy Records keeping. People safe bodyguard for Diddy for a number of years. He was even there when Puffy's bodyguard, the notorious Big, was shot and killed on the Night Rapper. Okay, now that you know who Gene Deal is, let's hear what he had to say about Diddy's crazy practice. The bodyguard for the famous person said that on the last day of the ritual, after the full moon and the change of the seasons, people honored certain sacrifices and gods, and on the third, every day, they'd drink, party, and have fun, and the guys would have with each other. It's shocking that Gene Deal isn't hiding anything. He is telling everyone everything about the ritual process Sean Diddy Combs does. On the third day, you heard him. As the men drank and got married, he said, they would trade gifts with each other and then end the night by having, check it out for yourself if you don't believe it. This person has a lot to say about the right Gene Deal was talking about. He is, writing straight from the comments. The ceremony you talked about is called the burning of care. And as a custom, a baby or child is burned as a sacrifice to Moloch, a god. There is a party for the rich at the Bohemian Grove. This has its roots in Roman festivals honoring the god Satanius that were made famous by Emperor Caligula. Not many people would call it paganism because it has more to do with Satanism. Wow. But Diddy's former bodyguard isn't the only one talking about how shocking life was at Diddy's. Usher, a musician, said that when he lived with Diddy, who took care of him when he was 13, he saw some very strange things. The singer who sang You Got It Bad is 45 years old. In 2016, he talked on the Howard Stern show about living with Diddy for a year when he was 13. Hey, it was interesting. I had the chance to see some things. Yes, but you were 13 years old. That's what you said. I went there to see the way of life, and I did see it. It was interesting, but I'm not sure if I could fully enjoy and understand what I was seeing. It was really crazy. Then Usher talked about famous artists like Mary J., Craig Mack, Faith Evans, Biggie Smalls, and Lil Kim to oblige, who were also around at the time. When asked if he was going to stay up until 4 a.m., Usher told Diddy and his group that he could party with them and stayed up later than them. In 2004, Usher told Rolling Stone in a different interview that P. Diddy showed him a different way of life, especially a different way of having sex. He talked about how it's so hot in the business. Man, there were girls all the time. When you opened a door, you'd see someone doing it or a group of people having a party. You never knew what would happen next. The singer and stepper also talked to People's Magazine in February 2024 about the crazy life he lived at Diddy's Flavor Camp. He talked about how he met some of the biggest names in the business at a very young age and saw some of the best records ever made. He remembered, "I remember when Outkast made their first records and I could hear Rico Wade work on these songs. I remember sleeping in this man's living room and being in the dungeon, just hanging out and trying to figure out who was who." But things get even stranger now. As a young boy, Howard Stern had the most fun of his life and made important contacts in the business. He then asked the singer if he would be willing to send his son to one of Diddy's flavor camps to get the same experience he had. His answer showed a greater meaning. "You have a son now. Would you ever let your kid go to Puffy Camp?" "Not at all. Wait a minute. Look at how straight up he came with that." "Not at all. He is not going to send his children through the same thing he did, which was a mistake." These two replies show how most people felt about this 2016 interview. Someone asked again, "Would you ever send your son to Puffy Camp?" "No, he's laughing, but you can see the pain in his eyes. It still haunts him. The whole industry passed him by. It's not worth giving up your soul for silver and gold." And someone else added, "His answer no to the last question tells me everything I need to know about what Usher went through." I'm shaking my head. Most people agree that "hell no" was a very telling word. In a different light, Lil Rod's process of becoming more like Diddy may have been one of the craziest things he has ever done. Diddy called Lil Rod on the phone and asked him to help him work on his record, The Love. Since then, Rod's life has not been the same. The process of the initiation rite was scary, shocking, and evil. He had to go through all that crazy stuff because he thought it would lead to a Grammy. Okay, I worked on this record for a whole year. Diddy's Love album is called Off the Grid. Besides that, it's up for a Grammy right now. I really should be happy, but I'm not. Rodney Lee Rod Jones Jr. is coming out for the first time since February when he sued Sean Diddy Combs. Lil Rod's lawsuit says that Combs touched, drugged, and threatened him physically while he was traveling and living with the rapper from September 2022 to November 2023. The music producer, who is 38 years old, told Rolling Stone that he was afraid for his life and safety. D.I. was also called a monster by him. Lil Rod also says that Diddy did not pay him for the work he did on 9 songs for the record. "I don't have any money. I don't have any money coming in right now. There are times each month when I worry about how I will pay my bills. So here standing up for what I think is right in my life and getting in trouble for it. That's for sure," he said in the interview. In any case, before we get into Lil Rod's claims and lawsuit, watch this creepy video of Diddy talking to a young Justine Bieber about how their next 48 hours together were supposed to go. The two of them will be together for 48 hours. They're having the best time of their lives, like, where we are and what we're doing. We can't really say anything. And I remember that most people were worried at the time about what an adult was doing with a 14-year-old in a place, and with activities that were not made public. To make things even stranger, an inmate from jail still couldn't get over the terrible things that happened to him in a Michigan nightclub with Diddy in 1997. Do you know what he did? A $100 million lawsuit was made against the rapper, and he won because Diddy and his lawyer didn't show up to the virtual hearing. The mind-blowing case was started by Derek Cardelou Smith, who is inmate at the Ernest C. Brooks Correctional Facility in Michigan and has a long history of suing the government in legal cases. Derek Cardelou Smith is currently spending 75% of his jail time for criminal sexual conduct and kidnapping charges. However, he has not let his time in jail stop him from going after the entertainment mogul who sexually assaulted him almost 30 years ago. Wait a minute. The case says that Cardell Smith and his rapper friend P. The two met in 1997 while working at a restaurant in the Detroit area. It was said that they had sex with a group of women while drinking and smoking weed that night. Cardell Smith was sued because he said he felt a man's hand on him and said it was Diddy's. Smith, who is 51 years old, says, "I then went to get another drink, and Sean asked me if I needed anything else." "No," I said. It looked like another glass of Jim Beam when he said, "Here, drink this one." So I took it because I had already had one in the other room. I then drank some more. I just sat there until I got sleepy and passed out. After that, Sean Combs told me, "I added a little something to it for you. I will get that from you anyway, one way or another." I then passed out. He also offered me $2.3 million to erase what had happened to me. This is where things get hot. Cardell Smith then gave information about the jail, including the fact that Diddy's name was written in the visitation book. This let him say that he sued Diddy and turned down his offer of $2.3 million to drop the case. Derek Cardell Smith told the court in August that to get him to drop the $100 million lawsuit and settle outside of court, Diddy said, "You know how we get down." Cardell replied, "I disagree with how you get down." Because of this, the court granted his motion for a restraining order or your motion for a temporary restraining order. Since I signed it, we'll process it and send it back to you. You will then need to serve it on the parties. But Did's lawyer, Mark Agnello, disagreed with the judge's claim that the case was properly served on his client. He said that his client is looking forward to getting this ruling thrown out quickly. If their claims are true, the case will be brought up again, and Cardell Smith will have to show his claims and accusations in court. The cell phone is being held. Early this year, federal officials raided two of Diddy's homes at the same time in Miami and Los Angeles. This was seen by some as a sign that the rapper would soon be going down R. Kelly's way, so they were right. On Monday, the troubled rapper and music producer was caught in a Manhattan hotel in New York City, just 24 hours after the $100 million ruling against him went viral. It wasn't clear what charges he was facing at the time of his arrest, because the charges were based on a secret indictment from a federal grand jury. TMZ says that the rapper was taking selfies with fans and meeting people on the streets of New York City with his son, Christian King Combs, just a couple of hours before he was arrested. According to TMZ, the rapper was supposed to be arrested on Tuesday morning, but there were some problems. Instead, Homeland Security arrested him in a Midtown hotel where he was living, using a sealed indictment from the Southern District of New York. It is true that Diddy was arrested by the federal government in Lower Manhattan. It looks like the action was taken as part of the ongoing criminal investigation into suspected sex trafficking and other crimes that led to search warrants being issued and carried out at Diddy's homes in Miami and Beverly Hills. A drawing from court shows When Diddy went to court for the first time after being charged, the charges were read out loud and argued. A federal grand jury indictment of 14 pages says that Sean Diddy is guilty of racketeering plot, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. As expected, the rapper pleaded not guilty to all charges. At the hearing in Manhattan, according to news sources, he has also tried to bond his way out of jail, but to no avail. Charges of sexual abuse and sex trafficking against Diddy Combs have kept him from getting bail. Lester Trump says that the music mogul who used to fly to all of those homes on a private jet is now in a jail known for having terrible conditions for prisoners. Then it was said that the music producer spent his first night in jail in Hell on Earth, which is one of the worst jails in the world. The name of this facility makes me think of the terrible living conditions that Inside Edition writer Les Tron described. How bad is it in this government prison? In the past few years, there have been 2 killings, 4 suicides, a lot of stabbings, and a lot of lockdowns. 4 federal judges are said to be unwilling to send any more prisoners here because things are so bad inside. Diddy had lived a life of luxury, comfort, and freak-offs, so he would definitely have a hard time adjusting to his new space, which only has a half-in mattress without a pillow, a plastic chair, and 3 5-foot-wide places to move around. Reports say that Mark Agnifilo, Diddy's lawyer, told the judge that the facility is cruel and a terrible tragedy, so he does everything he can to keep Diddy out of jail. His lawyers want him to stay out of jail so badly that they are offering his $48 million home in Miami Beach and his private jets as bail. Inside, Edition reported that Diddy's lawyers offered to only let his mother, sisters, and the mothers of his children visit his house if he was given bail, but the judge wouldn't give in. CBS News said that the music mogul looked calm and humble as he walked into court for his bail appeal meeting after spending the night in hell on earth. Even though the federal judge believed Diddy's calm front, he refused his bail again, saying that if he was freed, he would be more likely to mess with witnesses and/or evidence. This is mostly because prosecutors accused Combs of tampering with witnesses. At yesterday's hearing, they said that the rap mogul's workers tried to keep his ex-girlfriend Cassie and hotel staff from talking about the beating that happened 8 years ago at a Los Angeles hotel. Some people said that the video of Diddy kicking and stomping on singer Cassie at the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016 had been deleted from the hotel's server before CNN got it and released it. Police say that bags of pink powder were found in Diddy's hotel room when he was being arrested. Bags of pink powder were found in Diddy's hotel room after he went to New York 2 weeks ago to wait to be arrested, as his lawyers had told him to do. The powder wasn't tested, but the officials said it looked like drugs, and that similar bags that were taken from Combs' homes during the home raids had previously tested positive for drugs, including ecstasy. Keep in mind that 1,000 bottles of baby oils were also taken from Diddy's house during the same raid. Some people think Diddy would have a hard time getting out of this mess because he worked hard his whole career to retire in jail. The police have talked to more than 50 witnesses and gathered dozens of cell phones, computers, and hard drives as proof. The accusers also have a video they say shows the forced sex and horrible acts that Diddy is said to have planned. Hold on, guys. Let's not forget that Lil Rod Jones sued Diddy in February. Rod Jones' 73-page court document, according to producer Rodney Leal, because his job forced him to film P. Diddy, has 100 hours of video footage that always shows P. As well as using ecstasy drugs and selling guns that haven't been licensed, Diddy and his friends and guests are involved in a number of illegal activities. His lawsuit says that the famous rapper has sex trafficked and abused Lil Rod and other people, some of whom were children. The rapper is seen as a horrible abuser and monster by both Lil Rod's claims and the grand jury charge. But Diddy's lawyer said that his client should never be linked to some of the worst crooks in the country. Mark Agnifilo, the music mogul's lawyer, told NBC News that Combs is not the infamous singer R. Kelly Keith Raniere, the head of a sex cult, or Jeffrey Epstein, who is accused of trafficking sex. Mark Agnifilo didn't agree with the federal grand jury's claims that his client was involved in sex trafficking and other sexual assault-related crimes. He said that Diddy's only crime was stealing and being unfaithful during a bad time. He told the judge, "This is different. These were consenting adults." He also said, "Funnily enough, this is not evidence of sex trafficking, but of being caught being unfaithful." In his case to let Diddy out on bail, Mark reminded the judge that he had been in a loving relationship with Diddy for 10 years, even during hard times. However, the first hearing did not go in their favor. Diddy's lawyer is still hoping for bail, so that his client can leave hell on earth. He said that the rapper was going to turn himself in to the police before he was caught in New York. When Mark Agnifilo talked to media outside of court, he said, "Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this until the end. He's innocent. He went to New York to prove that he wasn't guilty. He then went on to say that Diddy is not scared and that he would fight until the end. The government didn't say anything today that made people change their minds about anything, for sure. Why did Diddy get arrested? Okay, it's happening now. Rich hip-hop artist Sean Diddy Combs is in federal court this morning. Combs is being charged with trafficking and racketeering, as the case was just made public. To be honest, no one was shocked when Diddy was arrested. A waving flag announced Diddy's sad fall at the start of the year 2024. As the rapper's hits on Billboard Hot 100 grew, so did the number of cases and assault claims against him. It was only a matter of time before the police went after him. My jaw dropped when I read the 14-page accusation. The rapper is being charged with too many serious crimes for words to describe. Still, I'm going to break it down for you. Sean Diddy Combs is being charged by a grand jury with 3 major crimes. The crimes are related to the rapper's behavior from the 1990s, when all eyes and applause were on him. On the first count, the grand jury charged him with racketeering conspiracy. This means that they say the music mogul has abused, threatened, and forced women to give him what he wants while also keeping his image safe. Like a lot of other people, some of you may be asking how the rapper, whose name is Love, could do all these shockingly bad things and still look like a saint. According to the indictment, Combs did this by using the employees, resources, and power of the many-faceted business empire he led and controlled. He did this by creating a criminal organization whose members and associates trafficked people, forced them to work, kidnapped people, set fires, took bribes, and obstructed justice. Fair play. It's scary that P. Diddy's pattern of abuse depends on getting women and other people close to him to take part in highly planned acts with commercial workers, usually for his own pleasure. But I knew the rapper would be gone for a long time. At this point, the federal grand jury says that most of the businesses and projects that Diddy is in charge of are illegal. That means something, right? The accusation says that Sean Diddy Combs and other known and unknown friends are part of a criminal group called the Combs Enterprise. From 2008 until their arrest, the federal grand jury says that these members and associates of the Combs Enterprise did or tried to do a number of illegal activities, including trafficking and transporting people across state lines. The indictment says that the enterprise's goal was to Combs' own wants and needs, especially those that had to do with his own pleasure, even if that meant taking advantage of women and using business workers. As charged by the federal grand jury in Count 2, P. The charge against Diddy is trafficking. The grand jury says that from 2009 to 2018, Sean Diddy Combs knowingly contracted, lured, and transported a minor in interstate and foreign trade in the Southern District of New York, where Diddy's enterprise is based, and other places. Person, who was identified as Victim 1, was made to do commercial work, even though Victim 1 was doing commercial work under duress, fraud, or force. 3 counts were brought against Sean Diddy Combs, a music artist and famous rapper who is in trouble with the law. The indictment says that between 2009 and 2024, Diddy, who is facing charges, knowingly transported a person in interstate and foreign commerce with the goal that person would participate in having sex. The grand jury also said that the music mogul wanted the female victims and commercial workers to be transported in interstate and foreign trade more than once. That most people think Diddy was arrested, charged by a federal grand jury, and had home raids in the past is not a surprise. In 2016, CNN obtained horrifying hotel hallway video of Diddy physically abusing his ex-girlfriend Cassie. From what CNN says, the movie was taken in March 2016 and shows an event. It records from different angles. My name is Cassie Ventura, and I filed a federal case against Combs in November. I said that he physically abused me by punching, beating, kicking, and stomping me during their relationship. It was shocking, though, that the lawsuit was dropped the day it was launched. Because of New York's Adult Survivors Act, which lets victims of domestic violence and attack file a case no matter when it happened, Cassie Ventura was brave enough to call Diddy out on it. It became clear to her that the end of New York's Adult Survivors Act was coming soon, and that this was a chance for me to talk about the pain I have been through and will be recovering from for the rest of my life. Cassie Ventura goes out of her hotel room and toward a bank of elevators in the video. Putting a towel around his waist, Diddy runs down a hall after Ventura. He throws her to the ground by grabbing her behind the neck. Now, with one hand still on his towel, he turns to kick her. The video shows that Combs gets a purse and a suitcase from the floor near the stairs while Ventura is on the ground. He turns around and kicks Ventura again while she is lying on the floor still. The movie shows that there are about 4 seconds between the two kicks. After that, he walks away after quickly pulling Ventura by her sweatshirt toward a room. After the tape came out, Diddy felt bad about it and apologized online, saying that he was in a bad place and had gone to therapy and was now better. But what do you know? He thought the lawsuits were over, but then he got hit with another one, then one more. After that, they kept coming. You probably still remember what happened on February 26, 2024. No, Lil Rod did file a lawsuit against his boss, Diddy. In it, he said that while he was staying at the rapper's house, Diddy's employees made unwanted moves toward him. He also says that Diddy made him have with workers, which is scary. A 73-page court record from producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones says that the famous rapper has been involved in trafficking and assaulting Lil Rod and other people, including children. Things get even stranger from here on out. Daphne Joy, who used to be 50 Cent's girlfriend and is the mother of one of his children, was named as one of the alleged workers in the case. It is also said in the case that P. Diddy often held parties with underage girls and illegal drugs, and it seems like record company executives who did nothing helped their own finances by having access to famous people and dignitaries like Prince Harry of Wales. But Prince Harry isn't being blamed for anything or going to parties by himself. There is no question that Lil Rod's lawsuit feels like a huge, deep, never-ending prison built to bury rapper P.D.I. and everything he had worked for. But let's not forget that Joey Dickerson-Neal sued Combs in November 2023, not long after Cassie's lawsuit. She said that Combs had raped her, assaulted her, and secretly recorded the attack in 1991 while she was a college student. It looks like the rapper's weird and gross behavior goes back to the early 2000s. The lawsuit that NBC News quoted says that Joey Dickerson-Neal said Diddy asked her to go on a dinner date on December 3, 1991. She reluctantly agreed, but that day turned out to be the worst of her life. It was said that Diddy had beaten her so badly that she was physically unable to stand or walk on her own. Like a trend, her lawsuit also says Diddy filmed the abuse and showed it to his friends and business partners. She told police in New York and New Jersey about the case and also talked to attorneys. However, her co-workers told her that they were afraid Combs would get back at them and that they would lose business and music opportunities in the future if they spoke out against him. What's interesting is that news stories say that since November, 3 more women have filed lawsuits in the Southern District of New York, saying that music mogul Sean Diddy Combs assaulted them. As it turned out, 2 of the women said they were children when they were abused. Guys, we're in for some interesting times ahead. To see more videos like this one, click on the card that's on your screen.